Okay, y'all, this is a Supreme Heat, we'll call it a slide out, but it's the nozzle assembly rebuild, Supreme Heat. So here's what I did so far. I tore it all down, took every plug out, got her all down to this. I took the solenoid apart. These solenoids, the rebuild kit for these is more money than just putting a solenoid on it. But what I did was, took it all apart, cleaned everything, including the nozzle line, and I'll show you all that. What's in here is a piston with a spring, just like all of them, and a rubber seal. So we're back together there. I'm not going to replace this. It actually looked really good when I look at the seal of the bottom of the piston that goes in. So anyway, there's that. And then what I did was I took the whole harness here and I followed my lines back here to which ones are the heater, and I plugged neutral and positive into the plug here and tested my heaters for about 5 seconds. They both warmed up nicely. I also took the solenoid here and I put it back on and I energized it. While I was sending air through here, I energized the solenoid and it let air through when it should and took it away when it was closed. So now I'll just take all my little parts and put it back together. When this came in, it was put together wrong. They actually use this cornered plug right here. They put that in there so when you put the electrodes on, the electrodes are actually slotted to be an electrode guide. When I got this plug was over here and there was just a regular plug in there. So anyway, that's the only thing I saw that wasn't quite right. I'm going to put a new set of electrodes on it. These don't look bad, but you can see they are worn. That's supposed to be round metal, and instead it's got quite a bit of wear on it. That's because it's a Supreme Heat and they just run and run and run. So anyway, short story long, your heaters are right in the block here. And a little trick to those heaters, this is a pro tip now. You got to be very careful when doing this. I'm going to trust you with this information. Those heaters, because they don't touch oil, they have 2 holes here. Those are actually the heater ports on the other end. So if your heaters are stuck, rather than rip the wiring out of the heaters, you can actually take a small blunt punch that'll fit in those holes and gently tap on the end of the heaters and knock them out of the block. All right, that's it for now. I'm going to put the plugs in. We just use a good pipe dope and we let it sit a day so our pipe dope sets up. But I have this, you take a gun cleaner, solvent, whatever it is you want to use, and hammer every one of these ports to get all the baked in oil out of them. And again, these are heater ports, oil ports. Voila, air port comes down through here. I tested that. That's nice and wide open. Okay, so I have all the plugs in. Yeah, the square head up front, this plug, and this plug. Next, I'll put this fitting in. This plug did not go in. The old plug went all the way down in below the surface and wasn't getting super tight. So I stopped and I installed a new plug. We have new plugs that have this red coating on them, and it actually makes them bigger than the original. So that one tightened up nice, and if you can see on the camera here, it's actually still above the surface where it got tight. So I know that because these plugs are taper fit, that's how they seal. I know I'm in good shape now, and that plug is good and tight. And as you can see, my other ones are still above the block. So you don't want to over tighten them either, because you're kind of hurting yourself by making that hole in the aluminum too big. The plug doesn't wear. What happens is the aluminum starts to get wider and wider if you're grinding that thing down in, because again, those plugs are tapered just the least little bit pipe thread. So when you go in, what seals it is the taper in the pipe thread. And then we use this grip. What we do with this stuff is, it seems to actually come out okay the next year or 2 years from now. I always worry about getting things back apart. But Morris, shout out to Morris from Clean Burn. he tipped us off on that. You put those plugs in and let it sit a day with that stuff on it, and it so far so good. Okay, for now what I did is I tightened my solenoid base. I put on the magnet, and again I had tested this previously. I stuck my 2 heaters in the ports they belong, and I put the tube on and this fitting in here. All right. Okay, now this is a little homemade heater setup I made. This is actually the slide out from a fire lake where I can actually thread in my thermostats into here and run this heater. So right now that heater's getting good and hot. So I'd have my thermostats plugged in there to test them. But now I'm gonna actually use it to heat up this thermostat before I go ahead and put it on the side of the block. I'm gonna put it on the side of the block here in a minute. There's what it looks like when it's back on there. What that does is just the heaters go through that thermostat to determine when to come on and when to go off. So I'm gonna grab my meter, and right now when I test it, it's gonna test open, or I'm sorry, it's gonna test closed, because it's gonna want power to go through it and heat up the heaters. Once it heats up for a while and hits the set temperature, it's set right now for around 180. Once it hits that 180 temp, it's gonna go ahead and open up and kill power to the heaters. This is gonna be a little tricky with the phone, but we'll try to. In fact, since I take the electrical anyway, this one's this works. So right now you can see if I were sending current through this, it would be going, electricity would be running through to my heaters right now. And as it heats up, it's going to go to open line, because it's going to hit the desired temperature that they want the block heated to. So we'll just give it a little bit more time here. I just didn't have enough pressure on it, fellas. Now that I have a good tight seal, you can see I'm OL. I don't know if that's going to show up. Now if you watch, what I'll do is I'll let the pressure off and move this thermostat away from the block, from the heat. And now it's calling for, it has a connection again. So what that means is now it's going to tell the heaters to go ahead and start up again, because this just cooled off. All right, that's that test. Okay, so next I got everything assembled as we showed you before. Now the thermostat's bolted up, 3 screws on that, wired up. I'm going to clean this up with a wire tie like they do from factory, although I hate wire tying stuff. The only thing left now is the electrodes. I'll put those on, and the little side shield. This shield's very important. What this does is it blocks air coming down the tube there to balance off. I'm sure it balances out that, but it keeps the air flowing straight. So I'll put that on as well. And while I have this whole assembly here, I'll show you what it looks like. So that's going to go underneath the electrodes and bolt in right there facing forward. And then there is a real good look at what you're looking for on your electrodes. You just want to be just out in front of the nozzle, just a smidge. And if you go too far out, if you send this thing too far front, you're going to be gumming these up all the time. There's a real good look at what you're trying to accomplish. I believe it's about an 1/8 inch in front of the nozzle, and you're done. That's a Supreme Heat nozzle assembly. This is what makes them awesome. The other thing with Supreme Heat that's crazy is the primary has a 2-minute pre-purge. They use that 2-minute pre-purge to run the heaters. Your heaters don't run when the furnace isn't running. I don't believe there's anybody else on the market that does that. My hat's off to the boys at Supreme Heat, Roger and Sam. Them boys got it going on, and we're proud to be a distributor for them. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. God bless you. If you don't know Jesus as your Savior, time is very short and hell's too hot. Don't let the sun set on your lost soul. Find somebody that knows Christ as their Savior and ask them how to get there, or just look up, how do I pray a sinner's prayer? All right, thanks for watching. We really do appreciate it, and we thank you. Have a great day.